Hey, everybody, and welcome to Superhero Speak. I'm your host, Dave.
And I'm your other host, Don.
That's right, we are back after we took our shared birthdays off this week, and we're ready to talk some nerd news. So, what we got on tap for tonight? We've got, of course, the title episode. We're going to talk about that Toxic Avenger trailer that came out starring Peter Dinklage. We got some Highlander news that was kind of exciting. Some comic book news. After a couple of decades, DC and Marvel are going to be crossing over again. John Berthenthal's Punisher. There's some exciting casting news about him. I think I just buried the lead there, or not buried the lead. I gave it
Yeah.
away. And then there's some Star Wars news that there's a. So I saw the article, and then I saw something we're saying it's just a rumor, it's not true. So we'll see. We'll talk about that. And Kassan is here watching us. Everything is right with the world. But how are you, my friend? How was your birthday? Did you do anything exciting?
Not on the date of my birthday, really nothing exciting. But on the weekend, we had a little bit of a celebration, kind of a little bit of a trip down to Mohican for those in the area, although most of you probably are not, which was fun. And then today, Uh, you know, we've been complaining about the weather here where I live because here we are almost July
Mm-hmm.
and it's been wet and rainy and cool, not cold. But these past couple of days it's been hot. And so today was like the first day that we went to the brother-in-law's pool there and hung out, barbecued, chilled in the pool. It's kind of the official kickoff of actual summer here,
Yeah.
in this area. So that was fun. Um, that is really about it. I mean, how about yourself? How was your birthday?
Uh, it was good. Uh, I'm sure I've mentioned this on the show before, but both of my brothers, who are not twins, their birthday is actually next Thursday. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, they're a week after me, the 26th, and so we normally celebrate together. So we're going to be doing that next weekend with the families. Um,
Okay.
so what my girlfriend and I got a hotel Wednesday night. That's why we weren't here. Up in New Hope, which is like a small town north of Philly. It's an older kind of feel to it, artsy community. I like to go, so we went and spent the night, and then walked around New Hope on Thursday on Main Street. That was the first day that it was really hot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so and then I guess I don't know. Did you guys get hit with that storm? We got the whole
Oh yeah.
the whole Northeast though. It was like this crazy storm late Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
Um, like there are trees down everywhere around here. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know um if there was actually like I haven't heard any reports that there was a twisters or tornadoes, but like I feel
We
like
were under a tornado warning, which
okay,
means there was touchdown. Now, nothing major happened though. But yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I was
I mean,
actually
there's people in the
pretty.
suburbs here still out of power and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So which
Ooh.
made it funny because like what had happened was we weren't. It was getting like later in the afternoon and it was starting to get cloudy, and she's like, we weren't hungry at that moment, so she's like, well, let's go drive, closer to home and find a place to eat. So um, we were in right outside of where the city, right outside where I live, and like um, that we were in a store looking around. That's when the storm really hit. We came out of the
Mm-hmm.
store and went across the street to a restaurant. They didn't have power, and then
Oh.
we went and we're driving to another one. They didn't have power. We went to like three different restaurants that didn't have power until we ended up back, like literally, it's about a mile from where my house is. They had power. Iron Hill is a local chain, and we had dinner there. But yeah, it was crazy, and they were super busy. And that's what one of the waitresses was saying to us, is that like a lot of places lost power, so everyone was coming here.
Yeah.
But yeah, but all in all, it was a really good birthday.
Okay.
And then yesterday, we ended up going to Lancaster, which is much farther away than New Hope, to go to this Gothic market. So imagine like a Comic-Con where it's just vendors, there's no artists or
Yeah.
anything like that. And the tickets were only $4, but like one of her boys had seen an ad for it. It was like, oh, we should go do that. So like a bunch of us went, and two things. Number one, the convention center that it was in the air conditioning wasn't working. So it was actually hotter inside there than it was outside.
Oh man. So
And it was tiny. There was like a couple, maybe three or four dozen vendors there. So it was
so
like,
it's just a bunch of people dressed in black in a hot building.
yes. Yes. And it was funny because her one son was like, "Oh, we got to dress up and stuff," and like he went all out. Both the boys went all out, eyeliner, black, all black and everything. And Karen and I were both like, "Nah, we'll just wear jeans and a light T-shirt." And I'm so glad that we at least did that much.
No eyeliner for you, Dave.
No. But we did. But we ended up going out to dinner afterward and had a good time. So that's what matters. And then today I'm here. Did you get any good gifts? Because I got a really good gift.
Yeah, I did. Actually, my dad gave me a 20 gauge shotgun for my birthday.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
So I won't take you off then. So everyone who watches this show on a regular basis or listen to the podcast knows that I'm a huge fan of the Great British Baking Show. So my girlfriend got me a virtual experience baking class with one of the contestants from the Great British Baking Show. So there's a bunch of them. You schedule it and then they tell you who's available.
Yeah.
So I haven't scheduled it yet, and they do it virtually. So like, you just have them on a computer screen, and you do it in your house while they're doing it. You do it with them. So yeah, like I can't wait to do that. That'll be fun. I'll be scheduling it soon. So yeah, that was the best part of my time off, was getting that present. So, well, nice. No, spending time with the girlfriend was, but that was a close second.
Awesome to hear.
So yeah, that's what we got going on. Christopher Smith is saying he's finally got a free Sunday night to catch up with us, so that's cool. And he's saying hopefully there was enough deodorant. Yeah. I mean, anyone who's been to a convention knows the smell. So
you got the funk. Yeah. You got the funk.
Now there's a bunch of, young people dressed in black. You can imagine.
Yep.
Some deodorants aren't even strong enough to hold up to that.
The eyeliners are running.
Yes. Happy birthday, old farts. Well, thank you, Kasan. So that's what's going on with us, and I think we're ready to get going. So before we get into anything else, here's our good friend Darth Don to tell you where you can find more superhero speak.
Darth Don here. You must subscribe to Superhero Speak if you haven't already. And if you have already, make another account and subscribe again. You also will like this video. And while you're on the HoloNet, go to superheroespeak.com. Find the links to our merch and purchase one of our shirts. Don't skimp on the shipping, or else I will trap you in a box with an agitated gun dog named Brie Lawson. I would just force lightning you, but we don't have that in the effects budget. Now, back to the show.
This is breaking, and I forgot to announce this at the top of the show. It is official. We have been approved for New York Comic Con again this year, and
Yeah.
our hotel is booked, so we will be there, ladies and gentlemen, who are going to be at the convention. So check us out while we're there. We're working on some stuff we want to try to do while we're there. Some surprises. We'll have a special guest hanging out with us all weekend. Friend of the show, Tim Jones. I guess I shouldn't have. I should have waited to announce that, but who knows? Because he's never been to a New York Comic Con, so he'll be his first time. So he will be you last year, overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah, no, well, I'll get that, but we'll be there and I'll be ready to go. I'm going to feel like I'm much more focused this year, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast.
San says he hasn't watched the last couple episodes that you guys talked about Gunn blasting the MCU.
We didn't, but I feel like him, saying, well, the MCU is, got fucked up because Disney decided that they've got to ramp up production. Like,
right.
I feel we already knew that. And I know we've even talked about that on the show. So I guess I don't know if there's much there, but he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right, though.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say anything we didn't know. And it's not like I don't feel like he said anything. Maybe I'm wrong, and Kassan, correct us if we're wrong, but I don't think he said anything specifically against Kevin Feige or anything against any of the people working on the movies. It was more or less like, yeah, Disney gave them an ultimatum to like ramp up production on stuff, and then the quality suffered, and we could all see that. And that's because that was kind of, I felt like that was kind of in response to him. Like, people are going like, oh, they want all this DCU stuff, and he's like rolling it out slowly because he doesn't want to rush it and give us crap. So because I feel like if Superman's a hit and then Supergirl's a hit, he'll start bringing other people in to like work on stuff, and he'll just oversee it. I think right now he wants to make sure the first couple movies hit before he fully dives into like hiring a bunch of people and turning things out a little faster. But I don't think he probably won't do the 3 shows and 3 movies every year like Marvel was doing.
Well, no, but and totally right. I definitely think that was a problem, but at the same time, we can't ignore the fact that like COVID was happening.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
And we were, Disney, Marvel, whatever you want to call them, was facing the possibility of their only revenue stream being the streaming service, which, they didn't feel that they'd be able to do that without a bunch more content. And their Marvel stuff was their most popular stuff, the Marvel and the Star Wars. Now, don't ask me why the Star Wars did not catch that bug. Now, there may be some out there on the internet that argue, but I feel that Star Wars has actually kept up the quality of its content.
Right.
Not everything's a masterpiece, but pretty good.
Kassan's saying he's talking about how all MCU movies were greenlit without scripts. Disney wanted to milk the audience. Well, yes and no.
Tell me, want to make an X-Men movie? Am I going to want to see a script before I say yes? I mean, I kind of get that too.
There's also a weird argument because the first big success was Iron Man, and that was filmed without a script. Like, they had an idea, they knew what scenes they wanted, but a lot of that movie was improv, and it worked. So the argument was, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, and let's be honest. He's already told us he's got these 5 movies under coming. Superman, Supergirl, which they're in production. But then Batman, Brave and the Bold, he keeps saying he's going to do, and Lanterns, and all this stuff. Like, well, I think Lanterns has a script, but I don't. Batman, Brave and the Bold doesn't have a script, but we know he's making it. It's been greenlit, so like,
Yeah.
like he's doing the same thing. They just did it on a large scale at Marvel, and sometimes it hit, sometimes it missed. I think. I mean, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure there was an arc plan for Thor, and I know that they were written, and then like those movies did well, but not as well as other MCU movies. So then they said, well, let's change the boat and let Hemsworth inject more comedy, and let's have some more fun with the movie. And Taika Waititi was like, yeah, guys, have fun, and ended up getting Ragnarok, which is everyone's favorite Thor movie. So I get what Gunn's saying, but at the same time, it's Hollywood. Movies get greenlit without full scripts all the time. It's not
enough.
Yeah, it's nothing new, and I'm sure production wise they're going to slow down and fix the mistakes because there's a lot of them. So yeah. But yeah, so yeah, look for us at New York Comic Con. There'll be more about that coming up. Let's talk about things that could possibly be huge mistakes. Maybe not. So it's been announced that Russell Crowe is joining the Henry Cavill Highlander reboot. And of course, everyone's first thought is that he's going to probably play Sean Connery's role. They'll revamp the character to also make him, because you don't have Russell Crowe come in and play a Frenchman who's actually Egyptian. You have him come in and play a Scotsman because he's already got a British accent. You make him part of the clan. So I don't know. What do you think? Because I don't think they're going to follow the original story. I think they're going to follow the same beats, but it'll be a completely different story. So
yeah, I agree. I'm definitely getting mentor vibes from Russell Crowe, because I also agree that it's not going to be a 1-for-1 remake, but I definitely think they're going to take the overall idea of the first Highlander movie, clean it up a bit. And so, yeah, I think it's eventually going to boil down to, Connor McLeod versus the Kurgan. So I don't see Russell Crowe as the Kurgan.
No.
And I don't see him as some sort of side character. So, yeah, I mean, playing that mentor role of Ramirez or whatever, because I agree, though. Don't make that character. That character hardly worked back then. In fact, if it wasn't Sean Connery, probably wouldn't have worked at all.
Yeah.
And although Russell Crowe, I love him as an actor, and I think he gives major gravitas. Again, if you've got the Scottish actor playing a Spanish Egyptian with a Japanese katana sword, it's not gonna make sense. So, but I like the casting. I like the quality.
Right. Also, I don't actually. I want to check something real quick because I'm sure people are going to yell at us. Yeah,
Please yell us down in the comments.
He's not Scottish. He's from New Zealand, so all those accents sound the same to dumb Americans. So, yeah, no, I think so. Like, I do think you've got to have a Kurgan, though. And well, first off, I wanted to say this: them announcing more cast members means they are definitely moving forward with it. If they're starting to cast the movie now, but who do you think should play the Kurgan? Should it be an unknown, or should it be someone like, I don't know, The Rock?
No, not The Rock. That's I will piss and moan about that all day long. I'm kind of done with The Rock. No. I want the dude that plays the Mountain from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
What's it? Thor. His name's Thor something. I'll just put it big fucking monster.
Mhm.
Again, that plays the Mountain, or at least one of the mountains, the last mountain, because there's actually been like 3 actors that play that character. But so I like to see a big fucking dude like that.
Yeah.
Maybe some WWE or Braun Strowman. I've seen that guy, I think, flip over a truck or some shit. So
Yeah.
something like that, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be someone intimidating, and someone with gravitas. Yeah. And you're right. Like, I just pulled The Rock out because he's big, but he doesn't. He doesn't really have gravitas to be a villain like that. I don't think. Um, you know, I mean, it's funny because if it wasn't Henry Cavill playing Highlander, I would say he'd make a good Kurgan.
Yeah.
So we shall see. We shall see.
Ooh, Ron Perlman. That just shot into my brain real quick. That might be a good Kurgan.
Yeah. But is he too old? That's why I don't think Russell Crowe's playing the Kurgan, because he's definitely too old for that.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So the one thing that came out this week that I have seen online, and I've seen a lot of people commenting about this movie after this trailer came out. I think we talked about it years ago when they announced it, but they did a reboot of the Toxic Avenger, the cult classic from the 80s that weirdly turned into a Saturday morning cartoon. God, they made so many things into Saturday morning cartoons back in the 80s that they shouldn't have. Rambo, the Toxic Avenger, like RoboCop, all these R-rated movies. But yeah, it's so we got the trailer came out, and Peter Dinklage is playing the main character of the Toxic Avenger, which was interesting. So if you watch the trailer, it's definitely a horror comedy. It's going to be gory, because I saw the Red Band trailer and it's pretty damn gory. So I guess the idea of a little person being the Toxic Avenger is kind of part of that humor, but yet there's no jokes about him being little in the trailer. I mean, I'm sure some people said not to do that. I don't know. We shall see. But what do you think of Peter Dinklage being the Toxic Avenger?
Yeah, I mean, that's a weird choice by him, particularly given his comments about the Snow White dwarves.
Mm-hmm.
And how basically he single-handedly caused 7 jobs to go away.
Yeah.
And again, it's because he didn't think it was very progressive or what have you. To still, think, Snow White and 7 dwarves, hire actual dwarves. But it's okay to think of a dwarf actor when you need to cast for, a mutated toxic little troll. You're okay with that? No. It's mutated toxic little troll. Yeah. Let's hire a little person.
Well, can we also keep in mind that he became famous off of what? Playing I can't think of the character's name in Game of Thrones. Tyrion, who in the books is described as like, like an ugly,
his nose is missing and shit.
Right. So like essentially a mutant, or
yeah.
So it's like he got famous off of that. It's I mean, I hate saying it.
But it's like he didn't get cast and then so he threw shade.
Right, right. It's like he made it, and then he pulled the ladder up behind him. Like, oh,
Yeah.
any jobs that you guys can get? No, it's wrong for you to take those jobs. You should just get jobs as regular characters and blah blah. But looking at the comments online on this trailer on social media, like a lot of people are upset that he's playing the Toxic Avenger. That because the actor who originally played him in the movie, I'm gonna get his name because I don't want to. Mitch Cohen was 6'4", I believe, um, and like that's part of the reason why he was cast, so that he would be big and menacing as
Yeah.
this like creature that goes around and kills people. And now we're going to go the opposite direction and have a little person play him, where there's going to be like if there's not jokes about that in the movie, that's going to be lacking, especially because like that's what people expect out of the Toxic Avenger. It's not a movie like you take seriously, and
Right.
and and again, he pulled the ladder up behind him, and then he takes a job like this, and like yeah, like there's a lot of negative comments online about this. I think this was a poor decision on his part, especially after the things he has said about Snow White. You know,
Yeah.
um, I don't know.
I'm sure they're going to lean into the short thing. In fact, if I look at this trailer, it basically looks like a bunch of people they're going to prove to be assholes, which makes us cheer when they get slapped with the fucking chemical mop or whatever the fuck that thing is that disintegrates whatever it touches. Although
Yeah,
it itself, I don't know, does not. I don't know. It's a mop. It indestructible, but anything it hits instantly disintegrates. So, which was kind of I was never a fan. I mean, I won't be a fan of this. I was not a fan of the original Toxic Avenger because
yeah,
it was the same. I mean, a lot of movies were like that back in the 80s. They're like, these teenagers proved to be assholes. So we all cheered as the monster fucked them up. It was kind of one of those things,
yeah.
which I never enjoyed. So, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm sure some people will be nostalgic, but it's way over the top for me. And again, I just don't enjoy those types of movies where it's just, let's just get, these guys make themselves a-holes so we can cheer while they get chopped up or disintegrated.
Frosty, that's so that could get us kicked off of YouTube. Below average Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we'll see. But hey, there hasn't been a good horror comedy in a while anyway, right? Other than maybe Beetlejuice 2.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that we haven't gotten in a long while, Marvel and DC have announced some crossovers coming this fall. So the big one that is announced is there's going to be a Deadpool Batman crossover, which is written by Zeb Wells and art by Greg Capullo. Kevin Smith is going to be doing a Daredevil Green Arrow crossover. That should be interesting, as Chip Zdarsky and Terry Dotson will be working on a Captain America Wonder Woman crossover, and Kelly Thompson will partner with, I don't know who that is, Garuhu? Never heard of him or her, which will be a team up of Crypto the Superdog and Jeff the Landshark, who for some reason has become a widely popular character. Jeff the Landshark, that is.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Kassan says, Don, not now, but comment on whether you dived in Expedition 33. It's turn-based and right up your alley. No. Quick answer, no, I have not. I've been very busy and haven't even played my Star Wars game for a while.
Deadpool okay, that's a good question. Would Deadpool Batman be very similar to Daredevil Punisher? I guess, except I mean, Deadpool's more an extreme character, crazy, he can't die. Because I mean, let's be honest, these crossover books follow a formula. A lot of times, the heroes fight for half of the book until they realize they have to
Mm-hmm.
team up to fight the bigger threat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then yeah, so um, especially if you're going to put Deadpool and Batman in, it's going to be one of those like you want to see them fight. Um, and I don't know. Let's be honest. What could Batman do to Deadpool? You know, not
Yeah.
much. Like he's indestructible. You can't kill him. You can't really stop him. He's had his head cut off, and he
Not
keeps
for long.
going. Right. Like so. I'm just trying to picture who the big bad would be in that story that they have to team up and fight together. Like
It would be it would be Thanos and Darkseid.
yeah, possibly. Um, yeah, I bet Batman will refer to Deadpool as red. That's a little too on the nose, Kassan. Um, so we'll see. And then of course, I mean, I'm not. Look, I like Kevin Smith. I like Daredevil and Green Arrow. I think that could be a cool crossover. Um, and Adam Kubert is doing the art. I like Adam Kubert's work, but Kevin Smith with comic writing is hit or miss. Because I feel like at times he wants to inject his humor into the stories.
Yeah.
I mean, famously, he's the man that made Batman piss his pants uh, in a story. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
so it's just
Bat piss. Yeah.
we'll see, and then
I
Captain
just think
America.
it's a trope at this stage of the game, though,
Yeah,
with Marvel and DC. And I almost feel like they're preparing us for them to be one. With them revealing in the comics that they're basically in the same universe and have referenced each other and now this. So
yeah.
and to Kassan's question here in the chat, do you think we'll ever see a DC you don't think we'll see that, Dave? We'll
No,
see a DC MCU crossover
not until it gets to the point where both universes are doing so
near
poorly,
death.
near death,
Yeah.
that they're going to have to do something to kickstart it to get people to watch it. So a multiverse um, movie where
Yeah.
Superman and Spider-Man have to team up for something. Yeah, when no one cares at all about either universe anymore, that's when it'll happen. But right now, the because here's the thing, Warner Brothers and Disney don't care about the comics. They only care about
Yeah.
the IP. So they can do whatever they want underneath. There's not I'm sure I know people who work for these companies, and I'm sure there's a long agreement that they have to sign that, they're not going to make their character look bad. Whoever writes it is going to make, both sides look good. They're not going to um, uh, make anyone piss their pants, as it were, and that and they'll both heroes will come out looking good at the end.
Yeah.
But other than that, because they don't want to damage the IP. But other than that, it's do what you want. It's a comic book.
Yep.
If it sells more books, that's all we care about, right? Because as much as we love comics, it's a slowly dying industry. The floppies are other than the absolute books, they're all doing poorly right now. So yeah, this is a stunt to sell books, and the bean counters aren't looking too closely at what's going on there. What did he say? Batman doesn't piss his pants unless he sees pearls. No, it's a story where he's talking to, I think it's Robin, about the first night when he blows up the wall to all the and goes to all the rich people. You know, you says something like your time of feeding off the poor in Gotham's over. Some big famous speech. But the funny thing is like he's relaying that story to someone else and saying the heat from the blast made him, urinate in his pants. Basically, he doesn't say it like that because it is something that happens to firefighters, with the heat. But it's like saying that in a book isn't necessary. But like Kevin Smith wanted to throw that in there. So yeah. And then so we'll see. I mean, we'll check it out. I think the other one, the Wonder Woman, Captain America, I mean, they're both morally similar characters, so it could be a boring story.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. We'll talk about Kassan's question later. Because moving on, we do have some Spider-Man 4 news that
how about this?
John Bernthal, is that how you say it? Punisher will be joining the cast of Spider-Man 4. This is confirmed. I do know that there is a clause with Sony and Marvel working together on those movies now. There has to be at least one major MCU character in every Spider-Man movie going forward. That's why Tony Stark was featured so much in the early movies, and that's why you had Doctor Strange in Spider-Man 3, and now we're going to get Punisher in Spider-Man 4. It's an interesting choice. It makes sense. Those who know the character knows that he debuted in Amazing Spider-Man. He was hunting Spider-Man. That's the first issue he was in the 70s. So, like, yeah, why not have him in there? It also makes me wonder, like, well, if you're going to have Punisher in there, and you already had Matt Murdock in the last one, like, he's right there. He's right, like, they work together. Like, come on. One of my favorite relationships in comics is Daredevil and Spider-Man. So, because here's the thing, I want them to have him in the movie because I want him to figure out Peter's secret identity. And I know that sounds silly, but he figures it out in the comics because recognizing his voice and the same heartbeat, and it's like, this Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Like, he figures it out really fast. Can he figure it out? With this spell that erased him from all memory. Like, they still are going to have to explain that at some point. So what do you think about Punisher showing up?
No, that's great. I like that idea a lot. I think it works. I almost forgot about that clause where, a major MCU, which I don't know if the Punisher qualifies as a major MCU character, but
he's a major Marvel character.
Right. He is. It seems like this would work very well. In fact, tangential thought, I wonder if at some point we'll get a Sony Spider-Man and the X-Men movie if they're borrowing from the MCU there. But no, I like the Punisher. I like John Bernthal as the Punisher. And so, yeah, I'm all for him being part of a major Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
I think it'll be great.
So let's talk about Kassan's question here real quick. Have we heard the rumors that Sony is interested in buying Warner Brothers? Yeah, this is actually a rumor that's been going around for a while. There have been a couple people rumored to be interested in buying.
They probably want to do that just to make exclusive Batman games, which those Batman games kick ass, by the way. But
the thing with that is, I don't know if it would be approved.
Yeah.
I mean, Sony owns a lot already, and also the fact that like um there would be some tricky stuff with IP because they own the Spider-Man IP, and then all of a sudden they would own all of the DC IP. So there would be some, I think, some weird trickiness with IP there. Like, I guarantee Disney would jump in and say, "Well, then you would have to give us back Spider-Man if you bought Warner Brothers." I guarantee they would fight it based on that.
They might fight it, but I don't know if they'd win. And Sony, maybe little known fact, maybe not, but now that physical media is
Dead.
not dead, like, Sony's probably losing a lot of money because of that. That's one of the sweet deals that Sony had, was that they made all the CDs. So, yeah, any video
You
games
know,
or music.
yes and no, because it on one hand, like, yeah, media is dying and they're losing money on that. But on the other hand, more people are apt to buy online, like downloadable games for their PlayStation. And
Mm-hmm.
they're probably making a lot more money off of their games now that way, because instead of going to GameStop and buying it secondhand and saving some money, you just buy it and download it and you can't resell it. Like, that's the thing people seem to forget about not having physical games. Like GameStop,
Yeah.
there's a whole industry around selling the used game after you beat it, and someone else buying it. Um, like, yeah, I think GameStop's going to be dead soon, but I think all
Well,
the game companies are going to be making more bank because people won't be selling used games anymore.
yeah.
Everyone has to buy it new.
I think GameStop, because I think that too, and I'm a former employee of GameStop.
Yeah.
Um, I used to think, yeah, with physical media basically dying, but I don't know if you've been into GameStop recently, but they have pivoted to where they're now like merchandising. You go in there, they got all the pops and the
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon plushies. You can buy magic cards and shit now.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of collectibles. Like, it really has evolved. Still,
Okay.
sell games and shit, but they definitely have focused to more physical things in their store outside of video games, hardware and software. And that shit's actually kind of popular.
Okay.
So
All right. Interesting.
things still suck a dick because they won't even rehire me if I wanted to, but I don't think they're going anywhere for a little bit.
Um. So, all right. Yeah, you got a point. I don't know. I think with going back to like Sony buying Warner Brothers, I'm gonna guess, like, I feel like before they were kind of considering offers, and now
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee with the predictions of the box office for Superman and the fact that, like, I felt like them changing the name back to HBO Max, or the instead of just being Max, they put HBO back in it. I think that's a
Yeah.
sign, like, we're gonna wait a little bit. Let's see how Superman does. Let's see how, because like everyone that watched Creature Commandos loved it. There's a lot of excitement for the Superman movie, minus the Snyder bots hate machine. But every time I turn around, man, there's another one like, look how
Yeah.
great Henry Cavill's Superman is. Oh, like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I love Henry Cavill, but you
I don't
know,
think they're even real people at this point, Dave. So
yeah. So I think they're gonna wait and see, like, if they've got a banger with Superman. I think it's predicted to make 100 million on the first night, so we'll see. When it
Banger,
does,
barely knew her.
so we shall see. Let's see. Oh, what did he say about GameStop here? GameStop is going the micro strategies route and investing heavily in Bitcoin. Yeah. Um, and then he said Warner Brothers owns Mortal Kombat, Batman games, and many others. Yes.
Well, I think it's gonna be a while before anyone gives a shit about Mortal Kombat anymore, because that last Mortal Kombat game does not seem to be doing it. But yeah, those Batman games are the shite.
Yes. So they are. They're like some of the best games ever. All right. Well, we're already to our last article, and I included this for you, my friend. Though there is some back and forth online about this. Um, but the rumor is that Disney, Lucasfilm, has shelved the Ray Ray Star Wars sequel, Daisy Ridley led Star Wars sequel, um, because they want to concentrate on what you call it, the Rogue Squadron and something else. There was another project they're concentrating on. Oh no, I'm sorry, Starfighter. They're concentrating on Star Wars Starfighter, getting that right, and then I think also the what you call it, the Grogu Mandalorian Ahsoka movie. So they're not, and the thing is, they didn't say it's canceled. They're just putting on the shelf for now until they, they see how this other stuff does, which makes sense. Though someone else came out and said, "Oh, that's not true. That's just a rumor." And I feel like there's been a lot of stuff with that with Lucasfilms lately. Like one person comes out and says, "Oh my God, the sky's falling," and then someone else turns around and goes, "No, no, 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 that's not true." So I don't think they know what they're doing over there. Which is sad, because obviously we're big Star Wars fans here. And but what do you think? Are you sad? Do you want the Ray sequel, or do you not really care?
I want a sequel. I don't care about the Ray part. As much I have nothing against that character, but I'm not a big fan of the character either. And I think from a business perspective, it may be, it's a little hasty to say, well, we're going to continue on this universe and we're going to follow Ray. Divisive character. And in fact, most of your fan base doesn't even want you to progress your universe. They actually want you to go back.
Yeah.
And flush out between now Mandalorian, where the Mandalorian show starts and the Ahsoka show shit is going down.
Yeah.
Up until the First Order. There's a lot of stuff to fill in there. And since the Mandalorian, since the Ahsoka, outside of Andor, all the characters that I'm interested in are in that era of Star Wars, which is the, after the originals, before the sequels.
Yeah.
So I think that they have determined correctly that if they're going to make content, that's where they need to concentrate right now. Sure, one day we can get a new Star Wars movie from a new trilogy, but I don't think anyone wants that right now. And so once they have a better direction, then they'll do that. But why give yourself more work by continuing in a direction that most Star Wars fans don't really care about? And that's including me. I mean, I love to see the universe grow and expand, but at the same time, I'm completely enthralled with Ahsoka, Baylan Skoll, Ezra, Bridger, Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, Grogu. Like, that's I want to know more about that stuff. I want to see that story. So why split your efforts. Focus on what has already shown that people are interested in and make your money. Why go in a
Yeah.
direction that just no one seems to care about right now?
No, you're
That
right.
makes
And that's all.
sense.
Yeah. And like you said it best, it's a character who divided the fandom,
Yeah.
without question. It was like, you know, a lot of people called her a Mary Sue, and like she didn't earn um her powers. I mean,
Which
there's
I, as a long time Star Wars fan, Star Wars historian, I have no problem with personally.
right.
It's happened before.
Yes, that's the thing. It's not like it's nothing new. Um, we were just given this what you call it. Um, we had this belief that's like you had to go through all this training to learn how to be a Jedi, and it's like, yeah, but it's magic powers. If you've got the magic powers, you've had them your whole
Yeah.
life. You learn that way. I still don't understand how young you need to be to start your training, because
Yeah.
all I've ever heard in all the movies was too old to start the training, especially from Yoda. He likes to say that. Uh, so, what's Frosty say here? If they want something new, in my opinion, just do different stuff like Rebels and link it to the main story. Yeah, that's not a bad idea either. Again, you know, no one loves. I mean, other than Marcellus and you a little bit, but Marcellus is worse. No one really loves the sequels. Like people like them and they like parts of them, and there are some cool things in them, but they're not. You know,
Yeah.
they're
My favorite thing about the sequels is seeing the original three actors, Mark Hamill,
yeah,
um, I'm drawing fucking blank, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison
Harrison
Ford.
Ford.
Hell, one of my favorite parts of the Rise of Skywalker is when Lando's back in the Millennium
Yeah,
Falcon. Like I love that. Wedge Antilles, he came, I don't know. I was a sucker for all that shit. So I
yeah,
love those people getting a last go round,
right.
and
But
you know,
that's how it comes off, though. In the end, it comes off
yeah,
as like, oh, this was just one more ride for the old actors. This wasn't like an actual continuation of the story. Because
yeah,
we're repeating I mean, we end with somehow Palpatine returns. So trying to say, oh, this was the same story because it's all Palpatine again. It's like, okay.
yeah.
So
Yep. They need to
yeah,
go use on Vong. Um, and they need to kind of explain, and this is borrowing from Legends, which they've already done heavily, but I think, to give even more context to Palpatine, have the Vong come in and then explain how one of the things that the dark side of the Force in general can grant is foresight, and that the Emperor was being driven by his foresight of the Yuzon Vong,
right.
preparing for them. And then that kind of explains, um, just shit that he had going on. But yeah, I don't. If we continue though, I do want it to be Yuzon Vong.
Son says, so you just wanted more of the OT Star Wars, not the sequels. Well, I wanted the sequels, but like actually go in a new direction, making it all about the first two movies are basically all about. Well, the first movie is all about finding Luke, and then they find Luke, and he's a grumpy old man,
Yeah,
and then it's, oh, somehow Palpatine returned. Like there wasn't it didn't feel like a true sequel. Like you didn't give us new characters that we cared about and we wanted to see them go on and succeed. You gave us a story where it was like, hey, look, here's a force ghost of Han somehow. Uh,
yeah,
here's Leia doing a Mary Poppins in space. and here's grumpy old Luke. Yeah, no. So, um, yeah, let's do better, guys. Um, Frosty says I was interested in Kylo and the Knights of Ren until they made him a little crybaby. Yeah, like
I
also,
really like that Kylo Ren character. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a crybaby, but I thought that was an interesting character.
um, yeah, and it was just like, and they did the typical Star Wars thing in a way where they had the Knights of Ren. They showed them there's no origin; they're just these guys in cool uh costumes, and then they kind of like
They
didn't
they
really do much
explore
with them.
them. No, because they explore them more in the comics.
Yeah,
And I know that can be a problem for a lot of people. And even when I say that, they did not go, line by line explain everything about them, but they do show them and have them. They show you how Kylo Ren becomes their boss,
right.
basically. It's a pretty interesting story. So they do flush out stuff like that, and particularly the Knights of Ren, they did, but it was in the comics.
All right, we'll go read some Star Wars comics. That's the answer to everything. All right.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? It's that time. Got to ask that question that we ask every week.
What do we learn on the show tonight?
Or do you have any recommendations? What do you got for me, Don?
What I learned on the show tonight, now that Kassan is back, is that I need to check out this game. He's mentioned it in like 3 shows. Expedition 33, turn-based RPG, right up my alley. So yeah, I do have to check that out at some point. Recommendations. Boy, I haven't been watching anything. Although I think we are going to go see How You Train Your Dragon. So, have you seen that yet, Dave? Are you guys gonna?
No, we didn't get a chance to go yet. So maybe we'll go next weekend.
Yeah, that's what I think we're gonna do. So maybe we might want to give John a little ringy again. But either way, maybe at least want to touch on that.
All right. Well, I will fit that in. I'll try John. John, I would think, has probably seen it already. So we'll see. All right.
I know he wasn't excited about it, so I really would like to hear if him actually seeing it kind of changed his opinion of it.
Yeah. I learned. What did I learn? That people are not happy about Peter Dinklage playing the Toxic Avenger, and then we just want more old school Star Wars. Not necessarily Luke, Leia, and Han, but that era of Star Wars, because that's where us old guys live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Recommendations? I don't got anything either. I've been, busy with my birthday and starting to get stuff ready for New York. Just watching. The only thing I've been watching is Ted Lasso. We're now on season 3, so I'll be done soon. They are filming a season 4 right now, which is supposed to come out later this year. But I'm going to have to wait once we get through this. It's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other problem with streaming. The seasons are what, 8 to 12 episodes, and then,
Yeah.
so it's easy to get through 3 seasons really fast. It's wrong.
And then you're like, all right, we'll see you again in 2 years.
Oh, wait. Son's saying, come down to Florida for SuperCon. It's July 4th weekend. I'll meet up with you guys.
Shit, I got to figure out how to get the New York thing paid for, which will happen. But,
oh, and then Predator, Killer of Killers. Watch that. It's worth it. Okay.
Ooh, yeah. Actually, I agree. I do want to watch that.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah. We're trying to figure out how to save money to go to New York, let alone last minute trip to Florida. Maybe next year.
Which July 4th in Florida sounds
hot.
like if you want to be walking in soup, That's
Yeah,
where you go to do that.
I think so. Yeah, I have many friends who are Floridians, and they're used to it, but yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, boys and girls, it's good to be back. We'll be here again on Wednesday. So until then, as always, thanks for watching. Don't let your cape get caught in the door. See you next time.
If you haven't done so yet, subscribe. It really keeps this podcast alive. Smash the like button if you please. It gives us what we need. Maybe leave a comment or two. It's a really nice thing to do. And what are you waiting for? Visit our merch store.